morning, Shama Pande. Welcome to my community voice. My name is Tito, and I'm going to be your host today. How are you?
Thank you, Tito. I'm very well, thank you.
Look, you are the CEO or the director of Core Community Services?
Service manager.
Service manager,
yes.
Okay. Please tell us something about Core Community Services, what you do, what are your area of interest, target groups, please.
Yep. So, Tito, Core Community Services was started 42 years ago, and we've covered Southwest Sydney
for a long time.
For a long time. Yep. So we cover South Bankstown to Wollondilly, and through our 4 main services such as aged and disability, youth services, multicultural communities, and children's services. So really, if you look into Core Community Services, it's a place for all.
Okay, cool. And who are your primary funders? Is it generic community services, or you do COLD and diversity?
Look at the majority of our client base, again, being in Southwest Sydney, majority of our client base comes from that cultural and linguistic diverse background. And in regards to the funding, we do receive multitude of funding through different funding bodies, federal, state, and local.
Okay. And tell us something about your role.
I have been with Core Community Services for almost 12 years now.
12 years?
Yes, it's been quite a ride. So I joined the organization in 2011 when it was still called Cabramatta Community Centre.
Okay.
And my service used to be called Fairfield Migrant Resource Centre. Now in 2013 we had a rebranding to to showcase the demographic we covered. So we became CORE, and that's how long I've been there for.
And what does CORE entail? Do you mean it's a genesis, or it is unique? Why are you saying CORE? Is it centralized, or the main thing? Or
that's a good question. Yes, the CORE has so many interpretations, isn't it? So CORE for us is really it's care, opportunity, respect, and empowerment. And I think these are the values these are the values that we as an organization embody, and these are the values that we showcase in our service delivery every day on day-to-day basis. So all the program delivery are based on these 4 values.
Okay, so this is actually the acronym of the values. Okay, and who are your biggest clientele? Which communities in terms of demographic?
So I think, I think the place for all suits really well for us, because really, if you look into, we cater for, we cater for everybody starting from age 4 till until the elderly age. So we call it from crib to cradle, from crib to cradle, because from children's services we provide preschool. So if you are over the age of 6 or over the age of 4, you join you attend the preschool. Then we have youth services. We have 12 onward. Then we have multicultural communities that caters to particularly the cohort of newly arrived refugees and migrants, temporary visa holders, asylum seekers, and then you have aged and disability, which caters for respite care, home care packages, NDIS, So really, it's a place for all that caters to everybody. Different ages.
Okay. Now, I have a misconception. I thought it is, the parameter of core services actually Fairfield, Liverpool, but now you're saying you are up to Wollondilly, which is a massive area of southwestern Sydney.
Yes.
When did you expand that far?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think we've always covered Southwest Sydney. Yes, we, if you look into multiculturalism, through our multicultural communities, Fairfield Migrant Resource Centre, our focus was Fairfield. But then if you look into aged and disability, it's always been open. If you looked into youth services, we've been up to Wollondilly through our targeted earlier intervention. So it's always been that, but I think the focus for multicultural communities through Migrant Resource Centre model has been Fairfield, and I think that's where the misconception comes from.
Okay. Now, what are the challenges that you have for your clients to be empowered or to integrate? What are the biggest challenges your client will face?
Look, I think
experience,
rather than being generalist, I would want to focus on in my service area, which is mostly our flagship program is for newly arrived refugees, migrant and humanitarian and entrants, and then disadvantaged community. I also manage neighborhood centers that, the 4 neighborhood centers in Fairfield, Liverpool area. And again, if I come back to the question, the burning issues right now is cost of living. It's the inflation, the cost of living has gone so up that families are struggling to survive, and it's already hard hit areas, it's already hard hit families, and people are living under such a difficult situation of making choices between putting food on the table or paying rent or buying medicines or buying nappies. So it's a very, very difficult situation. So the other issues are, look, if we look into migrant and refugee space, we have so much of talent. And those talents are not being tapped because there is a lot of bureaucratic procedure in place where, overseas qualification recognitions, all those loopholes, and the wide's getting bigger, which means that the potential market has not been tapped. And that's where, if I am to, talk about this in a nutshell, I would say we need to look at it from the strength-based model, not the deficit perspective.
Now, what would be your take on, in terms of resilience of the community? Do you think that the community is resilient despite the hardship and supply chain breakdown, inflation? Would you consider the community to be a resilient community?
That's such a good question, and I think, if you look into Western Sydney, Southwest Sydney, it is resilient. And again, what happened after pandemic, during the pandemic, the lockdown, the harsh lockdown, the small businesses dying out, dying, all the small businesses have been, it's been very difficult for them to grow on its own. And now, finally, the markets, we're going back to our normal life. And when we walk down the path of Fairfield and Cabramatta, it's slowly going back to the normal. And I think that's the sign of resilience as well. The business owner are going back to their businesses, families are going back to their day-to-day life. And not just that, I think when a newcomer comes to Australia, they do have a lot of, challenges to learn new things. And I think despite that, they do fully integrate in the society and become Australian, take the citizenship course, get an employment, drive a car, bring up the kids, and I think that's if that's not being resilient, I don't know what it is.
No, I think it is absolutely resilient, coming and despite all the hardship and pandemics and everything. And let's end here with the optimistic note, and you'll come back next time, and we'll talk about more of the certain issues in Fairfield, Cabramatta, and Ulunduli. And thanks very much.
Thank you, Tito. Thank you for your time. Thank you.